Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is another episode of the world famous, the University of Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Today is August the 4th, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, but we are back. You know what's better than people calling your house and then saying, "Hey man, I'm thinking about coming over," is when they just show up at your doorstep. And so last week we had a visitor just show up on our doorstep. And one thing, everybody, a little tip from me to you: when you have an unwanted visitor, not unwanted, but a guest that you cannot. Some people you cannot let in your house because they will try to move in with you on a permanent basis. So I had a family member show up at my house last week, bags and everything, and we had to turn them around because no, they require a little too much work. So that was happening last week, and it got to be a lot, but we are helping this person out. Hopefully we can get them into a place that they need to go in, because we're already doing a lot around here, baby and the caretaking of the mother-in-law. Our hands are full, You can't really run a business. You can't really run a successful business when if you got 2, 3, 4, 5 people you're trying to take care of, it becomes a bit much. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something very important. We are going to talk about connecting with your audience, okay? And the reason why we're going to discuss this is because lately I've been watching old wrestling clips, okay? And it's old wrestling clips and some like old sporting clips. And one thing about pro wrestling is, back in the day when I used to watch it, there's a connection you have with the wrestler. There's there's just something special about it, and it helps. It will help you out when it comes to the audience that you want. It will help you out when it comes to, because you can be the best. You can market people. You can bring people into your funnel. You can bring people into your world. You can bring people into what you want. But if you don't have that connection, they are not going to stay long. They're not going to be, they're not going to become members. You know what I mean? And you want that connectivity, because I am 43 years old. And whenever I see, even though Hulk Hogan has said some off the wall kind of things in his retirement life, that does not bother me. That does not matter to me. I'm thinking about Hulk Hogan, the pro wrestler. When I was a kid, that music would hit and I'd come crashing down. Dun, 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 dun. Me and my brother, we would just jump up and start doing the posing, and we would do the flexing, and I am a real American. Fight for your rights. Fight for your rights. And even to this day, the music hits. I don't jump up as fast, but I still go, what you gonna do, brother? And, we had that connectivity 30 years later, And the same as goes with some of the other people. When I see Bret the Hitman Hart, I'm like, oh, this is Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. We have a connection. I have a connection for these people. And it's like, you want that. If you could bottle that up and put that into your business and have a connection, it will help tremendously. And it's the same as whenever you used to go to Walmart back in the day. Back in the 80s, 90s, when I was a kid, Walmart was like a special place to go to. I don't really, probably don't have these same thoughts now, but when I was a kid, you would go to Walmart and the people would be, because I read this book by Sam Walton. It's a very good book, by the way, too. It's about him coming up with Walmart, him coming up with the idea. But he started Walmart in a lot of small towns, and I'm from a small town, so I can relate. And he wanted the store to have small town vibes. He wanted the people to be friendly. He wanted the people to ask you questions, talk to you. And a lot of the people that worked at the Walmart you already knew because they might be from the same town as you. The Walmart that was around my area was 20 miles up the road, but I knew those people. I knew some of those people that worked there, and so it was like when you go there, it was like a friendly place, and it's very nice, and the prices were not expensive, and the people were friendly, and the people would just talk to you, and it was just like a personal relationship, like a bond. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of connectivity when it comes to living in a small town. There's good things and there's bad things, but one thing that helps, one thing that you get is like a connectivity with the store, with I'll give you even a better example. I grew up in a little town of 3,000 people, and not even going to Walmart, but most of the time we had a store called the IGA, okay? And the IGA was a cool place to go. Then they had the red sign out, and you would go in there and you would say, "Hey, so and so, how's it going?" And you talk and talk and talk, and you could be in the store for like 2 hours, and you just coming to pick up one item. But there's the connectivity, and you never would turn your back on the IGA. Eventually the IGA closed down, but at the time we was all rooting for IGA. You know what I mean? Like we was like, man, I hope y'all stay open. I hope y'all stay open. We hope y'all stay open. People kept going there. People kept shopping, but they sort of lost their funds or whatever happened. But there was a connection, and even to this day, I still tell people, if I talk to my cousin or something like that, I'll go, man, you remember the IGA? They're like, of course. And so every now and then when I'm driving the truck out and about in the middle of nowhere, I'll just drive across the IGA and I'll stop. I would get out the truck, pull the brake, and I would just walk into the store. And I walk inside the IGA and I go, man, the IGA, man. And I smile and I think, man, I miss it, And I might call my brother, might call my mama, but it's a connection, There's a vibe, there's a connection, and the more you're able to connect with your audience, the better off you will be, because you want a constant relationship. You want and most, it's like you want to give people that feeling of, hey man, I'm with you. You want that feeling of, hey, I'm here for you. I'm with you. It's like I was listening last week. I listened for a couple of days of a guy that I like, Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn is relatable. You feel like you have a connection with Mr. Rohn because he talks about how he was a small town kid from Idaho and he was struggling, and then he became a millionaire at age 25, lost all his money at age 30, came back, blah, blah, and you just relate to the story. You're like, yeah, man, I've been up and down, and you're just telling yourself, hey, if this guy can do it, I know I can do it. So, you're talking and you're like, man, and the more you listen to Jim Rohn and you're like, man, this is a friend of mine. This is Jim Rohn, and you just feel a connection to this guy, and it's like, some people have that, some people don't, but you can work on that, because I myself have, I've had a connection with, with this podcast, and I always hope that you feel the genuine passion that comes across my voice when I do this podcast, So I hope that's the connection that we can have, and I hope that when you make it, you're like, hey, I used to listen to this. I listen to this podcast. Well, most of the time when you start growing your business and you really start growing it, you have to cut some things out. So if you cut this podcast out, I'm fine with that. But come back every now and then, let us know how you're doing. But I want to be When people say, man, so what happened? You go, I mean, I started listening to this podcast, and this guy was just talking, and he was like, man, if I can do it, you can do it, and man, we had a connection, and you want that, and if you do a podcast or you do a YouTube channel, you want those connections. You want to email. You want people to look for you. You want to. It's like being in a relationship when you start dating somebody. You start dating somebody, and you're like. You look down at the phone. You're like, I heard from them today. And you get excited and then when they pop up on the screen, you're like, ooh, they texted me. And then you grab the phone and you smile a little bit. You text them back. And you're like, hey, I was just thinking about you. And, that's a connection. It's nice. It's beautiful. And the more connected you can be, the more money you make. It's just like, and not to sound like greedy, but it's just the truth of the matter. The better connected. Because in pro wrestling, it's funny. The more connected you are with the audience, the bigger push you're going to get. The bigger spot you're going to get. And the more money you're going to happen to make. And so it happens for some people. Some people it don't happen for. But some people you still have a little connection with. But, some people like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I remember he was stunning Steve Austin in World Championship Wrestling. He was a good wrestler, but it wasn't a connection. Then I remember he went to the WWF. He started, getting into it with the boss, flipping people off, drinking beer. People could connect because he was just a regular Joe. He was the everyday working man, like, hey man, this guy's boss is giving him a hard time. Whose boss ain't giving him a hard time? And I remember when I was a kid, I just started working too. I was like 16. And every day, 16 I had a job, so I understood Stone Cold wasn't Stone Cold yet. But the next year, 1996, 1997, I started working at this hamburger place. And every day they was on my case. Oh, you gotta speed up. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. And I remember I used to go home and watch wrestling. And I would be thinking, I wish I could just thumb my boss like this because they kind of getting on my nerves. So I felt more and more connected to Stone Cold. Like, man, this guy, I feel his pain because, hey, my boss is kind of a pain in the tookish too, So, but you just feel a connection. You feel it, And the more you can do that, the more you can intertwine with your audience, the more connected you can be. It's because, it's like I said, sometimes that's why people always recommend you do daily emails because, if you just email somebody once in a blue moon and like, oh, what do they want? If this guy's emailing me, he wants something, you know what I mean? It's like the person that came knocking on my door, This guy knocked on my door. I've seen this guy twice in the last 5 years, So quite naturally, when I opened the door and I saw his face, I said, oh, what he want? And I looked down and I saw his stuff. I said, nope. Shut the door. Got my wife. And then we, took care of it. But, he wanted something. But if I hear from you every day and then eventually you say, hey, man, you got like $20 I can borrow? I'll say, man, sure. Why not? Because I hear from you every day. I know you call me not just for money, But some people, they get in contact with you, it's about a sale, It's like... It's like a clothing store, They contact you once a year on Christmas. Hey, we got a Christmas sale. What do they want, Some stores contact you more often. Some of them don't. It just depends on who they are. But the more connection you have with these people, the more money you're willing to spend with them. You know what I'm saying? So you understand that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Go out and just. You don't have to look at wrestling. You can look at any kind of. It's like one of my favorite little 10-minute things is from when Steve Harvey was talking about how he went to the Apollo and he was saying he was struggling real bad and he was about to quit comedy, but he went to the Apollo and he did a good job, and then they wanted him to host, and he talked about how he was hosting. And he said that they wanted him to let somebody else do the warm-up. And he said no, because he wanted to create a bond with the audience. So he said he did the warm up, he did the announcing, he said he did everything his first, I guess year or so doing the Apollo, so he can create a bond with the audience, because he, it's the TV job and he wanted the job, so he knew, if he connect with the audience, the more he connected with the audience, the more he could stick around. And he said he wound up hosting a show for 8 years, and it paid off. And now he's doing, now the guy's worth like $100 million, and you feel people's pain, and that's one. But the one thing I will say, the one thing that I see a lot of people, everybody, you don't have to tell the same story. You know what I mean? Before we go, you don't have to tell the same story. A lot of people love to tell you how poor they were. Oh, I was poor. My great granddaddy was poor. And it's like, that don't really got nothing to do with anything. But okay. And so, ladies and gents, we all have struggles. Okay, we all have a story to tell. You might have been working at a job, and it doesn't have to be fake. That's one thing about some of these internet marketers. They have very fake stories. It's very, contrite. It's very, made up. It's just like, it's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying when somebody makes up a story. It's like, you're not an actor. You know what I mean? I give you an example. I love this guy, but sometimes he I like The Rock. I think The Rock was a great professional wrestler. You know what I mean? The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Some of you might know him as Dwayne Johnson, but he tells the story about how he had $7 in his pocket. And that's his story. I mean, it's a nice story. He came out of Canadian football. He had $7 in his pocket. That's why he named his company $7 Media. But one thing that Dwayne Johnson don't tell the people is your daddy was a professional wrestler. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't earn what he has. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, Dwayne Johnson, we know you had $7, but you had another ticket that you could scratch off. Football wasn't your thing. You didn't make it in football, but the wrestling thing, your daddy had some connections. You knew people, and you could get connected. So it's like, okay, man, we understand that you didn't make it in football, but tell the whole story. That's just a personal. That's just. I'm sorry. Sometimes, because, like I said, everybody loves to talk about how poor they were, and how they, it's like life's struggles is not just financial. You might overcome, obesity. You might overcome, my family told me I couldn't do it. You might overcome mental health. You might overcome. It's a lot of obstacles that you can overcome. It doesn't have to just be financially. That's my only gripe about some people. They like to tell you, And then, I love. Hey, I'm proud of who I am. Proud, black man. But you have. I always kind of chuckle now when I hear black people talk about their great granddaddy was a slave and how hard they fought. And it's like, that's your great granddaddy. That's your great great granddaddy. You didn't have to do all that. Like, my parents grew up in a segregated time in Missouri. I didn't grow up like that, so their struggle is a lot different than mine. The struggle that I have is, me thinking, how am I going to be able to get out of the truck driving? How am I going to be able to, can I do this? Will I be able to do this? Age, and just, confidence, lacking confidence, that's my struggle. That would be my story to tell you, I was kind of like, kind of giving up, like, I guess I'm just going to be a truck driver all my life, and, then when I got to be 37, 38, I was like, I got to do something different because I ain't going to make it if I don't, and, here we are, slowly moving along, and it's, it's nothing financial, it's nothing, it's different, you know, and everybody has different struggles. So you don't have to come up with the same story, you know. It's okay, you know what I mean? It's perfectly fine. But, you know, find something to connect. You can always find something to connect people with. And people will connect with you anyway, you know. It might not be, it's not going to be everybody. We all know this, you know. It's like you date 100 people. You fall in love with what, 2 of them? 3 of them maybe? If you date 100 people, if you get to know 100 people, you might date, you know, 25 of them. You might actually fall in love with what, 3, 4 of them. You know, I mean, it's just the numbers, you know. So don't think, hey man, I'm trying. You know, it might take you a long time to connect with people, but you know, just keep going. You know, just keep working at it and keep trying. The main thing you got to do is just be out there. Though you can't. You know, nobody's gonna connect with you if you don't ever tell anybody, hey man, I got a show, I got a YouTube channel, I got a podcast, I write, I market myself. You know, nobody's gonna know if you don't put out the effort. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, connectivity. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow with the all new episode of Online Marketing, and we will be back tomorrow with the all new episode of Online Marketing Moves, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna upload these early in the morning, every morning. So I'm going to record these probably at night and then upload them in the morning. So no more late nights, no more inconsistencies. We'll be all right. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We'll be back tomorrow with the all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rosano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.